YouTube, it's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV back at y'all with another one. So we have some great news as undefeated unified WBC IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer Errol Spence Jr. He responds and reacts to rival undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the WBO reigning welterweight world champion superstar boxer who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence Bud Crawford. Terence Bud Crawford is now 38 wins, no losses, no draws, 29 big wins by way of knockout. Terence Crawford is 34 years of age, stands at 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. He defeated another foe of Errol Spence Jr. and former 2-time welterweight world champion superstar boxer Showtime Shawn Porter via 10th round knockout. Okay, dropped Shawn Porter twice in the 10th round, ultimately knocked him out in the 10th round. Or his father, trainer, and manager, Kenny Porter, he threw in the towel. He said he saw enough. So with that said, Terence Crawford, he got the victory. This was the highest profile fight in his career. This was the biggest name fight in his career. And so with that said, Terence Crawford, he got the victory, okay, in impressive fashion, okay. You could see in the fight he was starting to get closer and closer to Shawn Porter. The left hand, the left uppercut, and the left hook, and the overhand right, countering Shawn Porter's every move, okay. So with that said, obviously, the biggest fight in the sport of boxing is Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. That's the fight that the boxing world wants to see. And Errol Spence was ringside. A lot of people, they stated that Errol Spence, he got spooked after the 10th round knockout victory over Shawn Porter. In his fight with Shawn Porter, it was a nip-and-tuck fight, as this was a nip-and-tuck fight with Shawn Porter. It was a seesaw battle. Andre Ward had Shawn Porter ahead on the cards. I personally had Terence Crawford ahead on the cards by 2 or 3 rounds. The judges, one of the judges saw, two of the judges, they only saw Terence Crawford up by 1-2 rounds. So it was definitely a nip-and-tuck fight. The difference is it was a nip-and-tuck fight with Errol Spence and Shawn Porter, but Errol Spence didn't get the knockout. In the 11th round, he dropped Shawn Porter. He didn't follow through. If you look at the fight, I always say, when he connected with the short, choppy left hook on the inside, he didn't follow through with the right hand. If he had followed through with the right hand, he may have stopped Shawn Porter in the 11th round. And then Errol Spence, he clearly dominated the 12th round, which separated him in the fight. The difference is Terence Crawford got the knockout in the 10th round, okay? So he knocked Shawn Porter down and out 1 round before Errol Spence had knocked Shawn Porter down, okay? So with that said, obviously this was a barometer for many people to see how Terence Crawford would fare with Errol Spence and how Errol Spence would fare with Terence Crawford. Now, after the fight, as soon as the stoppage happened, Errol Spence, he got up and he left the arena, okay? And Errol Spence, he stated that, he felt like Kenny Porter stopped the fight far too early. Shawn Porter wasn't knocked out on his feet. Now, I said it was a brutal knockout, and I see that, a lot of people are complaining. They're saying, why are you saying it's a brutal knockout? It wasn't a brutal knockout. It was a brutal knockout, not in the sense of he was knocked out cold. It was a brutal knockout and a horrific knockout to Shawn Porter's career. As Shawn Porter retired, he was seen as not being able to get over the hump. Thus the reason why I said it was a brutal knockout, okay? The word brutal doesn't always mean that he was out cold, out on his feet. I mean, it was brutal to Shawn Porter's career because he was banking on this fight to get him over the hump. Like he stated, he was going to retire, win, lose, or draw. But this was the legacy fight that Shawn Porter needed to solidify himself as one of the best in this era. Now he's going to be as one of the best competitors of this era, but Shawn Porter has come up short in the biggest of all his fights. That's why I said it was brutal to Shawn. It was a brutal knockout to Shawn Porter's career, okay? Because at the end of the day, Shawn Porter now has suffered losses in all his biggest fights of his career, and he was banking on getting a victory. As he stated, this was the fight to solidify him and let the boxing world know that it wasn't just a situation where he couldn't get over the hump, okay, where he was just a competitive fighter in all of the biggest fights, okay. This was a fight where he wanted to prove that he could get over the hump. And once again, in the late rounds, after putting out a great performance and a great showing in the late rounds, once again, Shawn Porter came up short, okay? That's why I said it was a brutal knockout. With that said, Many people are stating that Errol Spence, he ran out the arena. Many people are stating that Errol Spence was ducking Terence Crawford. Many people was asking the question why Errol Spence didn't get in the ring after the knockout, okay? Well, you have to understand it's the promotions, okay? Errol Spence could not get in the ring. He wasn't allowed to get in the ring because it was top-ranked promotions. Yes, they were doing a joint network with Premier Boxing Champions, PBC, but it was a top-ranked card. This was a top-ranked promotion. Terence Crawford was the clear A side. Errol Spence was not allowed to go in the ring, okay? And actually, Errol Spence wasn't even expected to speak. He just chose to speak after the fight was over. And so people are saying that Errol Spence ran out the ring. Errol Spence responds and he says that he's more than ready to make the fight happen with himself and Terence Crawford. Errol Spence also states that, you know, it's a good idea. He likes the idea that the WBC, World Boxing Council, is willing to put up, you know, put up with the World Boxing Council, better known as the WBC president, Mauricio Suleiman. They are willing to negotiate and do a meeting, a sit down with the WBO, World Boxing Organization, and so they could get a deal done in place and put something in place where they could essentially order Errol Spence versus Terence Bud Crawford. We know that there was reports that that being Terence Crawford was going to petition the WBC to be, you know, allowed to be in the top 10 ranking system of their ranking system, okay? And so with that said, you know, Terence Crawford is going to be obliged, according to the WBC. They're not going to stand in the way, okay? They're going to allow Terence Crawford to take the place of Sean Porter. Sean Porter was rated number 2, 3 in the WBC ranking system before this fight. And so they are more than willing to allow Terence Crawford to take that position where it'll somewhat be ordered, okay? They would allow it to be ordered. They want to allow the biggest fights in the sport of boxing to come to fruition. And this is a situation where, you know, it's a unique situation. Terence Crawford is 34 years old. Errol Spence is 31. Errol Spence, he says that, you know, indeed that he feels that, you know, Sean Porter should have just not retired, but he should fire his father, trainer, and manager, Kenny Porter, because of the early stoppages. There's a lot of people that felt like, you know, it was somewhat of, you know, a plan in place that, you know, at the first sight of, you know, trouble, or the first sight of adversity, that Kenny Porter was willing to throw in the towel. And then Kenny Porter, he didn't help those thoughts when he, in a post-fight interview, when he stated that, you know, this was the plan from the beginning. If he saw Sean Porter in a position where he didn't feel comfortable, he was already going to throw in the towel. So obviously, you know, there's a lot of speculation going to run rampant from that standpoint. Okay, so with that said, you know, Errol Spence, he says he's more than willing to make the fight happen with Terence Crawford. I personally asked Errol Spence about the WBC ruling and WBC willing to order it, and he said that sounds great to him. Okay, it sounds like a plan. So obviously, you're getting a lot of people they're speculating. They're saying that Errol Spence got, you know, spooked by Terence Crawford's performance, and, you know, he got up and he walked out. He didn't want to say anything. Well, he spoke when he walked out. I was the first one that he spoke to when he left, you know, and I asked him about the stoppage. He thought it was premature. And then I asked him, you know, what do you thought about the WBC ruling? He said that he's more than willing. That sounds like a great plan for the WBC, you know, to rule that and push for the fight. He also stated that, you know, he would have loved to face WBA, World Boxing Association, super champion, Cuban superstar boxer, Yordenis Ugas, in the unification bout. As Yordenis Ugas, he's been on record, and Yordenis Ugas has stated that, you know, they had a deal in place for February to unify the belts, but the WBA, President Gilberto Mendoza, he has other plans, as he is now ordered Yordenis Ugas, after the biggest victory of his career, you know, life-changing victory, and he could go into another life-changing fight against Errol Spence in another huge payday. You know, he defeated legendary 8th Division world champion, iconic Filipino superstar boxer, and yet the WBA is ordering him to face Stanionis, a guy with 13 fights they're pushing for that fight. Well, that just lets you know what takes place in the sport of boxing. So with that said, Errol Spence, he responds to everybody stating that he was avoiding, Terence Crawford post-fight. He don't want the fight. Errol Spence said he's more than willing to take the fight. Errol Spence stated that, it's a good idea for the WBC to order it. Obviously, Terence Crawford is now a network and promotional free agent, but looks like Terence Crawford is signing with MTK Global, as doing a partnership, so probably fight-by-fight basis. So now, Terence Crawford, he stated his former promoter, legendary promoter, top-ranked CEO and promoter, Bob Arum, could not secure the fight for him against Errol Spence, and now he's going to move forward with his own plan. So now it shouldn't be that difficult to make this fight happen. So let's see how everything unfolds. But Errol Spence, he responds and he says he's more than willing to fight Terence Crawford. That's all I got for y'all, man. We know there's going to be speculation about Errol Spence's health because he was supposed to fight Manny Pacquiao August 21st, but he suffered a detached broken retina, which saw him have to be pulled from the fight. He said the eye is fine, and he don't want to fight any tune-ups, any mandatories. He wants to face champions. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button, drop a comment in the comment section, let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
Oh, it is your boy Jaden Kiss. Make sure you check out Blue Blood Sports TV. It's going down.